Hey guys, Jim Edwards here along with Stu Smith. Welcome, Stu.
Hello, everybody.
This is episode 46 of the Sales, Copywriting, and Content Marketing Hacks podcast. I have no rhyme for 46 except something that rhymes with sex. So
picking up sticks with 46.
Oh my gosh.
Well,
it's better than what I had.
I usually just say what pops in my head. Right.
No,
there.
you don't.
I do.
Because you never cuss.
I had no filter.
If you had no filter, you were in the Navy for 8 years. You have a filter. You never. I heard you say the F word lately, though. That was kind of cool. You kept saying fantastic. I was just thinking that was awesome. So, okay, today's topic is good enough. What is good enough? And when I said I wanted to talk about good enough, Stu said, I wrote 2 articles about that. I know the answer. So Stu, give us your answer of what is good enough.
Okay, when I use the term good enough, I usually mean that, in the realm of tactical fitness, where you have to be good at multiple elements of fitness, all of them, right? You can't just be great at strength and lack endurance. Right. Because where people go wrong is they tend to work on their strengths too much because they like them. Right. And they neglect their weaknesses.
Because that's usually where pain is. Pride, and especially in physical activity, pride and I'm going to lift. You see that, muscle heads, but their nutrition is crap and their cardio, they're getting winded going out to their car from the gym, drinking a muscle milk. They need to, pause halfway because they're getting winded.
Yes.
As opposed to
they catch a cramp.
They get a cramp. Or as opposed to the guy that looks like remember the comics with the Charles Atlas ad, the guy getting sand kicked in his face, and they're wearing those little butterfly shorts and a tank top. Look like that they need an emergency infusion of a pork chop to save their life because they're so freaking skinny, but they can do 4:45 miles. Yes. And they're like, you guys are slow.
Right. So anyway, we all have weaknesses. We all have strengths coming into this realm. And so when I write an article on like what is good enough, obviously those standards are rather high. You still want to be good and have high standards. It's not like getting a C or something, right? You still want a good B plus. Well, that is good enough if I were to grade them. But, to have an answer like what is good enough, I typically just say, here, if you can score this level on the fitness test, your fitness test is good enough. You don't need to score a minute faster on the run or do an extra 3 pull-ups. Who cares? You're passing, you're well above the minimum standards, and you're in the zone. Now you need to focus on what's next, and that is, getting through the training. You got to the training, now you get through the training. So that's how I use what is good enough. Now, in writing, I also use good enough, and I think that's where we're going with this one. But I'll let you take it to the next.
Maybe. So. But, I also think that good enough is in a business sense, good enough, if you want to be great, good enough is a personal definition. So what's good enough for somebody who's willing to accept one level would be totally unacceptable for someone in another who wants to be at a different level. When I was in real estate, good enough for me every day was I had to talk to at least 100 people on the phone to ask them if they were interested in buying or selling real estate. For other people in my office, 100 people a month was good enough. But then again, that's why I took 50 listings my first year, and most of them were averaging 6 listings a year. Damn. So it's, what's good enough, but there's a difference between good enough and perfection. So there's this triangle that you have to, there's timing, good enough, and perfection. And getting it done. Maybe I'm not doing this right, but
I got it.
you're never going to be perfect in everything, because if you're aiming for perfection, it takes forever to do it, and it's never going to get done. And I've seen a bunch of people, especially in the online space, that they took forever to do something because they wanted it to be perfect. And by the time they got done, either that ship had sailed, that it was no longer relevant or important or breakthrough or whatever they needed to actually sell something, or somebody else came along with good enough and owned the market. So if we look at funnel scripts, and the thing is, here's the other thing, the definition of good enough can change over time. Just like you say, okay, good enough to get you through training may not be good enough to get you through training, or it's a different type of good enough to get through
Absolutely.
the training, and
Yep.
a different type of good enough after the training. And so if we look at funnel scripts, when I first launched funnel scripts with Russell Brunson back in the day, and back in the day now is like 4 years ago, coming up on 4 years, or more. Anyway, we launched funnel scripts, and it was at a certain level, and it was good enough because it was breakthrough. It was new. It didn't have any of the bells and whistles that it has now. It's gone through 3 different complete rebuilds. We're actually on the 4th complete rebuild now. When you
Nice.
see, Stu, the features that we're adding now, you are going to be like, OMG. But the thing is, it's good enough until it's not good enough anymore, and then you got to have a new definition of what's good enough. Because if it's just not good enough, I gotta make it better. Okay, now it's good enough. So that definition will change. But let's talk about good enough for a book for a second, okay? My book, Copywriting Secrets, we came out with it. I thought it was well proofread, and it is well proofread, okay? Until we did the audiobook version.
Yeah.
You and I sat down and
Found
read
some
it,
of your old.
and I found 7 typos.
Yeah.
And as I was reading them, I was like, typo. Not going to do nothing about that. Typo. No, not going to do anything. It was kind of like, there are 7 typos in this book, and I know there are. And I am not going to do anything about it on this. Maybe if we do a second edition, I'll clean it up. Maybe I won't. I don't know. But we've still sold as of this moment, we have sold 11,376 copies.
In what, 2 weeks?
4 weeks.
4 weeks.
Okay. So 4 weeks and 2 days, 30 days.
Nice.
So that's pretty good. And people are excited about it. Now, the thing is, what's happening on social media, and I don't think this person meant it badly, so I didn't take it as badly. It was actually kind of fun to see it. The person posted a picture of, he took a picture of the book and showed, hey, there's a little typo in the book. And honest to God, that might be typo number 8, because
you don't remember that one?
I had to read it 4 times to see what the typo was. And so, but then an interesting thing happened on Facebook. It starts this big debate about whether this matters, and, focus on the message rather than focusing on that. And it's interesting to see people jumping on the guy. And it's interesting because it makes you think, okay, what's good enough to put out there? Now, I've read books, that were from, real publishers and stuff, had typos in them.
Sure.
It's very hard to put out a book without a typo in it. And at what point do you say it's good enough? And in my opinion, my opinion may be different from somebody else's, but ultimately, good enough is, to me, just like you said, good enough is to get you to a certain level, whatever level it is you're trying to get to. For me, in this case, good enough was, you know what, this reads right. I can't see anything. I sent it to people that I trust, had them read it. They like the content, and then people are reading it and they're telling me that they like it. And so I'm just not going to worry about it. So that's good enough. Now, if we do, in all seriousness, when we do a second edition someday,
It'll be easy to clean it up too. I mean,
will I fix it? Yes.
You're looking at,
10 minutes worth of work.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly.
Yeah. So the point though is that, especially since I'm just collecting these up, people are doing the proofreading for me. Crap, I have to pay somebody a couple grand to proofread a book. Well, the people are going to do it for me free through Facebook.
It's part of answering emails and listening to comments. I mean,
right.
You find ideas to fix. I do that all the time, especially if it's a workout that is confusing. Maybe I had a typo. Maybe I just didn't explain it well enough.
Yeah.
I'll just re-explain it and fix it.
And that's the other thing. Feedback will help you. And we did a whole podcast episode on feedback, but feedback can really help you. So don't poo-poo on people. There are certain ways to tell somebody, hey, there's a typo on your book. There's, you might want to check the second paragraph on page 193. Love the message. Great day. But on the flip side, you can't let the fear of that happening to you. Like some people, that would be debilitating to have somebody go on Facebook and say, there's a typo in your book. They would have a freaking meltdown. They would be debilitated. Whereas me, I'm like, okay, thanks. Good. Hey, good job. You found it. Yeah. It's not a big deal. So that's another part of good enough is you gotta give yourself permission not to be perfect also, because it'll never be perfect. I have books that I've been selling for 20 years that still have typos in them that I am aware of, and just we'll get around to fixing someday, maybe.
Yeah, I have written things for books and articles, and it goes through an editor, maybe even a second editor, and another draft, and still finds a typo in it.
Yeah.
So, that gets published. And you're just like, how did that happen?
Just because we're people.
Yeah.
People are imperfect. But part of good enough means being able to stand behind what you did too, and taking ownership of it, both good and bad, and just moving forward. And again, good enough. Your good enough will change over time as your abilities change. My first sales letter I wrote that was good enough to make me $1,500 a month. Would I write that sales letter the exact same way now? No. Is a video that I make even a year ago. The first Letting the Chickens Out with Jim videos were interesting. People still liked them, but I'm constantly looking for ways to improve them and raise the standard of what's good enough.
Yes.
So as your abilities increase and improve, then your definition will change. It's like my, PT testing. I'll use the example from today. Today was PT Test Tuesday. Why we would have a PT test on a Tuesday after a big run, ruck, 90-minute cardio day the day before, I have no idea, but there must be a plan.
That was an easy day.
What?
Monday was easy.
A 30-minute run for max distance and then a 30-minute ruck for max distance and then
easy day.
Okay, cool.
Just so how you frame it.
You're right. The easiest day this week was yesterday. You are absolutely right. So, but I have a certain number in mind for me that is good enough. And when I do a PT test, good enough is a minimum of 90 push-ups in 2 minutes, 90 sit-ups in 2 minutes, 20 pull-ups, and then under 12 minutes for a 1.5 mile run. Those are the good enough. Anything better than that means I'm doing better than good enough. So today I did 93 push-ups, but the 93rd one, I was like, Stu would not have counted that one, so I didn't count it. So 92 push-ups, 96 sit-ups, but then only 15 pull-ups. I'm like, what, WTF, man? What the hell? And because
a bad day.
And then I ran I ran the 1.5 miles in like a minute. I mean, in 11 minutes and 40 something seconds.
Yeah.
Which was actually really good because it was a really good negative split. So then I ran the second one 12 minutes and 47 seconds. And then I did 21 pull-ups. But then my push-ups kind of sucked. It was like 60 and then 76 sit-ups or something on the reverse on the back end.
That's a hard test.
But here's the thing. So I wasn't good enough today on my pull-ups. Yes, it could have been a bad day. It's also, strategy. I went out too fast on the push-ups. I mean, I busted out 60 in like 45 seconds and they were all good. They were just fast.
Mm-hmm.
So I think I burned up a little bit on that. So it wasn't good enough today. But when I first started working out with you 5 years ago, 6 years ago, whatever it was, 7 pull-ups was good. That was pretty good for me. And, 50 push-ups and 50 sit-ups and like 13 minutes on the 1.5 miles. So that good enough is going to change.
Yes.
And if you're keeping track and if you're actually trying to get better, the old saying of if you're not growing, you're dying is true. If your definition of good enough today is the same as your definition of good enough 20 years ago for virtually any aspect of your life, then you're screwing up because you should be getting better in every aspect of your life. What's in marriage, in relationships, in your ability to write, your ability to make videos, your ability to manage your chickens.
Yeah, I look at some of my older articles. I'm like, woo, I wish I could delete this from the internet.
Yeah, but
this is bad.
But
I would write it much differently now.
Right. Yeah. So good enough's going to change.
And of course, an evolution occurs as well. Technological evolution now enables Jim to let us see him let the chickens out. 6-7 years ago, there was not that feature.
No.
And it was evolved. He was able to evolve with technology and make it happen and make it happen easier than had he done it with a video camera and software and downloadable stuff and
encoding and
trying to get a 5 megabyte file downloaded.
Yeah, over dial-up.
Yeah, so we have evolved, and if you haven't kept up with that evolution, it's time to play catch up. So
right.
Yes, good enough does also evolve as well.
Right. So here's the thing. If your sales copy is good enough right now, but you want to evolve, you need to get a copy of Copywriting Secrets, because this is going to help you take your sales copy from good enough to the next level of good enough and beyond. And 11,376 people can't be wrong. I'm just going to tell you that right now. Maybe 10% of them are wrong, but 11,000 people ain't wrong. If you don't have a copy of this book yet, you need to get a copy, because right now I am still giving away copies for free. All you have to do is just pay the shipping. I already bought you the book. You just have to pay the shipping to get it sent to you no matter where you are in the world. So I think that's it for the Sales Copywriting Content Marketing Hacks podcast today. Make sure, if you are not already a member of the group on Facebook, you should be, because it's amazing. You can also check out all of our past episodes at thejimedwardsmethod.com/podcast. We recently had a guy.
Yes.
We didn't even know we were doing this. We drove 1,000 miles with somebody in the last couple of weeks. Dude listened to every single podcast episode while he was traveling across the United States.
He had some great takeaways.
He did, actually. He made us sound smart.
Yes.
So absolutely, we're with you at the gym. We're with you on a walk. We're with you in the car, wherever you want us. Jump on the podcast, download them all, listen to them all. Let us know what you think. Stu, great job today, man. Any final words?
No, just, everybody has a different good enough. You just need to make sure your good enough is profitable.
And if you know what, the best thing to do is make sure that good enough for you means always getting better.
Yeah.
How's
there you
that?
go. And you're growing, you're changing. Eventually you'll fix those typos. It'll come around to it.
Someday.
But cool. Right now, if it's selling, keep selling it.
Exactly. Okay, guys, have a great day, and I'll talk to you soon.